Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just give a brief overview. Tonight in front of you, you have Dan Gardner from Howesville Levine, who's going to give a presentation. As you know, in our village strategic plan, we have a lot of goals associated with Route 31 and cleaning up that corridor and looking at redevelopment. As with the village board has had past conversations with staff, we have started to look at the Block 1 properties and whether or not the village-owned properties were marketable by themselves. And based on that knowledge, we enlisted Howesville Levine to do a marketability assessment of the corner of Route 31 and 56, specifically our properties in the Block 1 area and how they associate with the properties around them in that same vicinity, to see if we can market our properties and move forward as is, or if we need to look at further properties around it to make it whole. And if so, what types of development may actually be feasible. What staff's looking to get out of this tonight is basically based on board's feedback from Howesville Levine's report, is whether you would like the staff to move forward with marketing our property as is, which is the 2.3 acres or so that's on the activity center site, the former activity center site next to the fire station, and whether you want us to market that and or potentially go out to RFP for development to see if there's any interest in that parcel by itself. Thank you. With that being said, Dan Gardner from Howesville Levine is here to give his presentation.
Great. Thanks, Steve. I'll rely on Mike to advance things for me. Just a little background on who I am, who we are. Some of you may recall we worked with you on the comprehensive plan, as Steve had indicated. Howesville Levine Associates is a urban planning firm specializing in planning, design, market, and economic analysis. I oversee the market and economic analysis for the firm. I was involved in the comprehensive plan. When we do plans, we try to bring in the market feasibility into recommendations for a comprehensive plan. It's not just based on land use planning, but really to be looking at 5, 10, 15 years out as to what some of the potentials will be. So the comprehensive plan is several years old now at this point. So we are now embarking on kind of what can be done with the implementation section. This slide you just saw before you was a award we won.
Excuse me.
Give you some.
Excuse me. We're not getting anything on our monitors. Can you?
No.
Just to give you some context of as to who we are, that we're we don't take these commitments lightly.
They shut off if they have an activity, so they must have shut off.
Well, these are on, and we're not getting anything, Steve.
So it should start to come in now.
No. Oh, they all have to be on.
Sustained. It's supposed to be super windy tomorrow.
No signal. They couldn't see on the dice, so we'll go ahead and take it back.
I hope not.
I can see
Monday night,
If they don't pop on, I'll turn the TVs around.
Monday Night Football.
That's good.
That's good. They can watch that one. We'll watch this one.
Is that good?
That's good.
I hate Dallas, but I hope they win.
We good?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. So just to repeat who we're, you heard what I had articulated there. This is a little bit about our firm and who we are, and that we were previously involved in preparing a comprehensive plan for the village. We don't take these engagements lightly. We've been nationally recognized for our expertise. So that's being said, this is the North Aurora Comprehensive Plan, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Within the comprehensive plan, when it was done, we did several study areas, or sub-areas rather. Village Center sub-area plan was a key component of the comprehensive plan. And if you look on the, is this recording and amplification, or if I walk over here? The site, the Block 1 site is highlighted there. Try to jump up there and point to it. It's indicated as mixed-use development in the comprehensive plan. This is a plan that was heavily vetted through community outreach, as well as through a steering committee and through public hearing, planning process, and then ultimately approved by the village board. And the Block 1 site is kind of the catalyst of this sub area. And again, it was highlighted as being desirable for mixed-use development, including residential. As Steve had indicated, and you may be aware, the light blue area on this map is the village-owned parcels. So you have the key site on the corner, then you have a little flag piece that comes off of it, but the surrounding property, the orange is the fire district property, and then the yellow properties to the north are privately owned properties. So when we looked at this, we looked at it from a few different ways. One was kind of, well, what if the entire site were available? Two, what if it was combined with the fire district site? And really what that was doing was testing the viability of, could the village-owned parcel stand on its own, or did it need the rest of the site in order to be market viable? And it's a pretty large site, and if you take the village-owned parcel, that's roughly about 2 acres. So that site is sufficient to support development. Certainly at some point, as development occurs, it could be combined with other things, but right now, given the dynamics, given the current conditions, given the ownership structure, and the fact that the village owns this parcel, really the recommendation was to proceed with exploring whether or not this was market viable, and we believe that it is. The other parcel, the adjacent parcel to the east, kind of provides a little bit more access to the site if you wanted to combine it with that or leave it vacant, but it does provide a little more flexibility in terms of development potential. So as we explored the markets, what are some of the things that we looked at? Research and data sources. We looked at the past plans and studies, certainly the comprehensive plan, not being the least of which of things we looked at. Previous community outreach and surveys indicating what the community's vision was for this area to really create some catalyst that could start to spur development, be kind of market dynamic, and start bringing in activity. We CoStar. We have a subscription to CoStar real estate market data to get real-time information as to the latest information on what's happening in the market, both in terms of rents, construction, activity. Esri Business Analysts, we're a partner with Esri, which provides us up-to-date demographic data and analysis, field reconnaissance of the market area, and then discussions with brokers and developers, in addition to village staff. The site assessment, as I said, the comprehensive plan calls for a mixed-use residential development at the site. The assessment of multiple development scenarios that I just highlighted. We said this site measures approximately 2 acres, which is developable and supportable of development. One of the keys is the village's ordinance would be triggered at a site of this size for this type of developments, would trigger the PUD, the Plan Unit Development Ordinance, which affords greater flexibility to the village and it also affords greater flexibility to a developer. It really provides an opportunity to work with a more creative project and development that you could get here, both in terms of look, feel, density, use, parking ratios, all the elements that go into a development would be triggered by the PUD. Some of the conclusions that were in the memo that we prepared, the recent and planned activity in the market is starting to respond to demand for developments with greater amenities. And if one of the questions that often comes up when we use the terminology in the document of kind of the upper tier, going back to the way CoStar evaluates properties, they have essentially 5-star ratings, and it's 5 being the highest. Now, what we're looking at is what's happening in the market is usually on the 3 and below within the immediate market. This would be a unique product if it was more than a 3-star product in the North Aurora market, and that's things such as underground parking or enclosed parking, so covered parking, but also with site amenities, the ceiling heights, the windows, the materials that go into the overall construction of the product, the on-site amenities as well as the in-unit amenities. All those things go into the more that are provided, the higher tier it goes. So what we're saying is this site, given village control, given the unique nature of the site, given where the market is heading, given the age of a lot of the other developments in the market area, there's an opportunity to capture a segment of the market and a type of development that you might not otherwise have gotten in the past. The desirable location is underlined by everything that I've just mentioned. Primarily what's occurring that we're seeing the most activity in is the 1 and 2 bedroom units, primarily the 2 bedroom units. Potential for ground floor commercial. That's the mixed use component of this project. Now that is not to say that the entire 2-acre site is comprised of ground floor commercial, but if the corner site there had a retail, restaurant, entertainment component, it certainly would help be a catalyst for other development and spur other things happening in the area. What you're trying to do is leverage this site to try to get additional development, additional investment into the area, and given the village's ownership, that is a key component of control of what happens here. In addition to the market rate residential that we talked about, senior housing is becoming a bigger component of the market. That's assisted living as well as independent living. That also could be a consideration here. What you're starting to see in the market, in addition to the senior level, senior type product, young professionals are looking for the same type of thing that seniors are looking for. I mean, you're getting the same type of demand on units, same type of demand on location, activity and new businesses occurring in the market area along the I-88 corridor are driving some of the development potential within this area. Fox River Valley market area is at a higher end, but this North Aurora kind of falls into both the Aurora and the Fox River Valley sub-market area, and we're seeing a lot of activity that meets both the senior side as well as the upper level of the market. And then as we talked about the potential to phase development at some point in time. So if this site develops independent of the rest of the site as the village-owned property, there is still that opportunity at later stages to bring into the fold the other properties as they come online. The obvious question often comes up, this is not to dictate where, I want to emphasize, this was a preliminary market assessment. This was not a development program. This was not a development feasibility study. This was to look at, is there market potential there in the assessment, as Stephen indicated, to start to move forward to explore what those opportunities are. These are just to give you some indication of some of the type of mixed-use development with some ground floor commercial. The one at the top is just purely standalone residential. But really you have an opportunity to create a signature project, catalytic project. Given the village's control there, you can respond to the market, and I think that's what staff is looking for. The direction is, do we now go out and start to respond and see and market test this site to see if we can bring the type of project that the comprehensive plan envisioned when it was done. So with that.
Yep. So at this point, what staff is looking for is basically feedback on how you would like, if you would like staff to go forward with just marketing our site. Based on this assessment, it affirms a couple suspicions that I think the board and staff have had for years, which is a mixed-use component would be a nice fit for that site potentially. One of the things that I think Mike and I got out of the report that we liked was that the first floor component should have some commercial. It doesn't necessarily have to be all commercial, so that leaves some flexibility, some better attainability to actually fill those storefronts and see what developers come up with. Because if you go out there and you say it has to all be first floor residential or first floor commercial, you kind of pigeonhole people. So it'd be interesting to see what developers come up with. One of the things we can do is we can go through an RFP process and just see if there's any concepts out there. We also, want to reach out to anyone who may have shown interest in the property as well. But at this point, we're asking for direction on whether or not you would like us to go ahead and market the piece as is. There's been so much talk about how, do you need everything to go forward? And this study was really to show us that we can move forward and think about the future components of it later and just go forward with what we have now.
Well, I'd like to say I think now is a great time to market the property. The economy is doing well. New construction starts are are, pretty high and pretty stable. And I think if the feasibility report's showing that there's opportunity to develop it, we may as well let the market determine what they want to put there. I do think this concept's perfect for that corner. I mean, walking distance to the riverfront, the bike path, and all the amenities. I've always thought a mixed-use development would probably be the highest and best use of that. And, when I see this, I think it's going to be a great fit, and I think we should, before the window of opportunity closes, we should jump on the opportunity.
Yeah, I like the mixed use myself. I think we should move forward as well.
Has the fire department given any feedback, or, have they responded to this?
They're currently going and budgeted for a facility analysis where they're going to look at their facilities, look at their call volumes, and see if they're best suited where they're at and what it would take to enhance their facility, or if it's best to look elsewhere. They do plan on doing that this year.
I'm in favor of moving forward.
Yeah.
I as well. Yeah, I like the idea of a catalyst in that corner. And I think that's the goal, probably all of us here, is we just don't want to do these 2 acres, but we like to see development from John Street to Oak Street. So, but yeah, I'm definitely get a move on.
Thank you. It's very impressive.
Yeah, it's good.
Very good. I think we all sort of feel that the entire area would be great. And part of the beauty of the whole thing is adjacent to the park. And without being adjacent to the park, it sort of takes away from what we thought we might get in the beginning. But I guess we have to wait and see what's out there.
Plus the view to the river. That was the other thing that, as it sits, you don't see that, but maybe down the road you will see it.
Well, my vision was always something that included the street and the park area. And without that, I just don't, my vision isn't what it was, so. But we'll wait and see what comes and the economics of it all and whether it appeals to us,
Just the market takes us.
yeah. We'll,
Okay.
so, very good.
Okay. I think staff will go forward with talking to developers if that are interested in marketing it.
Not so much in residential, commercial.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we can get, several projects to select from.
Apartments, yeah.
Very good. Well, we need a motion to adjourn to executive session to review our executive session meeting minutes and for collective bargaining.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? We are going to executive session, and we will not return to the committee of the whole meeting.